We find a lot about the center support. You know, this is the center support that came out of the car, like that. I didn't destroy it coming out. It's just, you know. And we find a lot about how to remove that from the drive shaft, which is relatively straightforward. You know, it's just use a puller. I had a 3-prong puller here, and all I did was, you know, convert it to the 2-prong, and use that with a little bit of help from a helper, and squeeze it on there, pull it off, nothing to it. You know, we see a lot about the rubber flex joint. This is the bad one, and it went bad. It's less than a year old. And if you look at that, that's less than a year old, and the reason it went bad was because we didn't replace this, or the shop I had to work didn't replace this when they replaced this. And I said, hey, I got a driveline vibration on acceleration. This is a place that's called BMW's Only in Las Vegas, Nevada. Supposedly they'd know about this, right? Well, they didn't want to bother, even though they did a lot of engine work for me and everything, they didn't want to bother dropping the exhaust and heat shield and taking a look. I didn't even really need to do that. You know, they could have just put their hands up on the drive shaft where he got in there and gave it a little jiggle. They could have felt that play. Of course, that shaking ruined this one pretty quick. And then, you know, I've installed the new one on the front part, and of course this is where it mates to the 3 prongs on the output shaft of the transmission. And of course this is the front part of the drive shaft. What we're going to do is use a socket, and we're going to tap around, you know, tap that on. That's all straightforward. We got videos for all this stuff on YouTube. What we don't have videos for is this baby on the output shaft of the back drive shaft where it mates to the rear differential. Let me show you what happened to me. When we were lowering the drive shaft, disconnected the front, disconnected the old center support bearing, we were lowering it, I allowed the drive shaft, this part, and this goes on here, I allowed this part of the drive shaft to lower a little too much, and this boot right here, this boot, cracked and started oozing black lubricant. You look in here, right there, you'll see that the lubricant's oozed out right there. That's because there's a crack in the boot. Now there's some guys saying, hey, don't take it apart, just wipe that off, inject some more grease in there, and then inject some right in here, inject some RTV, and then maybe smooth it out with some RTV, and then it'll stay in there. I'm not doing that. But along those same lines, I went to the dealership and asked them for this part, which, by the way, is pretty much like this. It's a CV joint, so it has the ball bearings and, you know, the cage goes in there like that, and finally there's a cover on the back of it. So that's what you have, like that. But I went to the dealer and I said, hey, give me this part. They go, and the parts guy said, well, I don't know what that is. A technician from BMW came out front and said, from the Steeler store, said, oh no, we don't sell just those. We sell only the entire drive shaft. Way to go, BMW. Anyway, so I saved the parts for. So I asked him, I go, hey, you know, what about the rear cover? And I had to bend it a little bit to get it off. Of course, no cover, right? So BMW, being BMW, had told me, oh no, we don't sell that. And I said, oh, great. All right, so what's my next move? And turns out that indeed BMW does sell that. It's just that the Steeler doesn't want to sell it. because they can't charge customers an enormous amount of markup on one single little part. Pellican Auto Parts has it, and even my local auto parts store found this for me in 2 hours. And this, folks, is the same exact part. It's genuine BMW. The only thing it doesn't have is the rear cover. The rear cover, when I peeled it off, it had some nice cork gasket in there. Like, uh-oh. So what I'm getting, and I got a few little bends in there too, so what I'm gonna have to do is straighten this out a little bit. And the plan, we know what plan, we know what happens with plans though, right? Plan works magic for me in every other application I've used it, like a gasket. So, we have this from the dealer. We run into a couple of different problems. One, that's a challenge. You get the old gasket material off, and I need to make that flat. So one of the ways I'm going to check flatness is glass. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it. Oh, wait a second. Kidding, folks, but you know. All right, so if we look at it, I wonder if I zoom in, how it'll look. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. So you can see they got kind of bent there. Not exactly perfect, but on the other hand, if you look at the plane, it's mainly the tabs that are bent. The mating surface, when I sit on glass, it seems to be making contact 360 degrees. I don't have any rocking points. There. I want you to get a feel for the boot has swelled a little bit because I've packed the grease down in there. Now we don't want to go any further than that. You know, I just thought about something. It's a little too late though. There may be some masking tape in here. Some really good automotive masking tape along the mating surface, and then I can just pull it off. Oops. Alright. So what we got is took the cap that I cleaned earlier, ran a bead of silicone around the edges of the CV joint, put the cap on, and then tapped it in all the way around, like this. And then I seated it all the way around using the large end of a punch right around each hole. And I got a little bit of ooze from my silicone each time I did that. And it looks like I got a nice little silicone. It's flush. I got a nice little silicone bead coming out of each little area there. Doesn't take much. And so now I'll just put it back together and put it back in the car. Thanks for watching.